Welcome back. You're tuned in to Bazaar Morning Call. You're on CNBC-TV18. Well, we have Mayuresh Joshi from William O'Neill, who joins us on the show. Hi, Mayuresh. Good morning. Good to see you in, as always. Let's talk about the big deal that came. Sammaan Capital, stock up 22% in the last 1 month. The street was sniffing something. We have IHS is going to come in there and put closer to $1 billion into the company. What's your view on the stock?
Morning, Nigel. I think a large part of that news was getting gestated into the price. And now that the news has come in, I think let's see how the reaction on the stock will be. But generally, I think a large part of the news gestated in, and numbers have probably been in line with estimates as well.
But Mayuresh, hi, good morning. Now, in the financial universe, which is where all the action seems to be shifting after the policy, the question is, will you look at, and from a shareholder's point of view, you can look at any NBFC, right? But within that universe, will you look at Sammaan as it goes through this, transition, this ownership change, or will you look elsewhere? There's also Tata Capital that's coming to the market. So lots happening here. What do you think of Tata Capital? And, would you pass Sammaan and go for another NBFC, or is it a buy for you?
Morning, Surabhi. No, again, I think post the RBI comments, specifically in the policy, I think NBFCs should start largely remaining in focus. And at Marketsmith India, I think our belief is that NBFCs are a tad bit better placed than a large banks at this juncture, primarily based on the fact that the cost of borrowing will obviously come down with the interest rate cuts that we've seen so far. At the same time, the expectation in terms of solid, durable advances growth, whether it comes to consumer durable advances or discretionary, I think that should start showing a solid amount of pickup as we head into Q3, Q4. Obviously, I think you need to be a little bit cautious, because if there is some element of unsecured lending, that probably comes through the system. What happens to asset quality pressures going down the line in the coming few quarters is something to be seen. And therefore, I think within the space itself, Sammaan obviously has this tailwind of news coming through for it. But large leadership stocks is something that we continue preferring in the NBFC space. Shriram Finance, as an example, or Bajaj Finance, our own sense is that the kind of book that Shriram Finance has, as an example, I think that should start showing signs of significant pickup as we head into the third quarter. And asset quality pressures, capital adequacy, provisioning, all seem to be very, very stable. Let's not forget the credit ratings that I was just speaking, which gives them their added advantage of the borrowing cost actually going even lower. Similarly is the case with Bajaj Finance. I think the expectation in terms of durable loans picking up, the cross-selling, the cost optimization that they've probably done, I think they seem to be a tad bit better placed within the NBFC universe. But again, as a bottom line, I think NBFCs, in our opinion, a tad bit better placed than large banks.
Okay.
Let's go back to Mayuresh. Mayuresh, what do you make of Maruti Suzuki? Big move is what you've seen on the stock. Sales are picking up as well. You heard the management, the way they're trying to reorganize their business. How much of the good news is in the price, and what do you like from the auto pack?
Nigel, I think a large part of that is in the price. But again, I think it's very, very optimistic based on the fact that volumes which were expected to grow in negative territory are now expected to grow in higher single digit in the positive territory. Again, I think from a company perspective, I think the company has historically dominated the entry level and the PV segment. Even in FY25, they almost had a 65% market share. And this has been disproportionately challenged by a lot of newcomers and competition and new launches that have probably happened. But again, I think with rationalization happening, both in terms of the income tax as well as GST, I think it would stimulate Maruti's portfolio, whether it's Alto, Swift, Wagon-R, small segment, or the compact SUVs, Brezza, Bronx. The new launches that they've done, the Vitara and the Victoris, I think that strengthens their hold in the UE segment as well. And therefore, I think as the management was speaking, I think they're firing on all cylinders, whether it's ICE, whether it's small cars, whether it's hatchbacks, or the larger hybrid cars as well. And therefore, I think a higher digit volume growth will largely translate into double-digit revenue growth, 12 or 13%, and a bottom line growth of 14 or 15 odd percent, which makes it a very, very attractive proposition. Again, I think any decline onto the stock is something that we probably suggest investors to probably look at. We remain extremely optimistic. Apart from Maruti, Nigel, as I've always mentioned, Hyundai, India, and TVS Motors with the two-wheelers is something that we keep on holding in our portfolios.
Okay, all right. What a journey right from Hyundai. It listed at IPO price around 1,800, corrected to around 1,550. And from there, from April this year, it's moved to around 2,600, fresh 52-week high. Who would have thought? That's a 1-month chart, more or less flattish. You pull up a 6-month chart, you'll see from around 1,500 rupees, it swiftly moved to around 2,500 rupees. Well, thanks, Mayuresh, for joining in. Wishing you a good Friday ahead, and we chat up rather soon. Let's